Which ones are we talking about specifically? Because when I think of SPVs, I think of like off-balance sheet debt
financing
that Mag 7 companies are using to finance data center buildouts.
Just the easiest way to think of it is if you're investing in a company, you're on the cap table. Congratulations, Matt Miller, you own stock in company Y. If you don't have the ability to raise enough money to write a check, you get a group of investors, you form one entity, call it a special purpose vehicle, that's on the cap table. But the thing that's happening from that is we're seeing layered SPVs that are charging fees, charging carry, that are turning around and saying, I have a chunk of an SPV that's on the cap table. Well, now I can sell it to a dozen, 100 people who give me money, I collect a fee, I collect carry, and then hopefully when this thing goes public, we all distribute shares from there, but I make a lot of money on the way there. The issue is these deals are opaque. There's a lot of uncertainty around who owns the shares. Are they from a former employee who's promising shares at some point when an IPO happens? We've already seen cases where promoters are saying, I have shares and access to this company, but they don't. And they're allegedly committing outright fraud. And that's something we've been tracking.
Yeah, no, that would be not just alleged. That would be literal fraud. So are they getting these shares from former employees? Are they going to secondary markets? Because there are marketplaces set up for this kind of trading.
Well, there are marketplaces set up for this trading, but if you ask those marketplaces, do you have actual shares of SpaceX that you're connecting buyers and sellers with? 9 times out of 10, they're going to admit, oh no, there's so much demand that we can't access that. So they're actually using SPVs or selling stakes in SPVs to these companies. The big thing is to keep in mind, though, as these companies are more sought after, that's when you see layered SPVs and see more difficulty getting access. If you're talking about a smaller company that's earlier stage, maybe those are the ones that you can get access to on secondary platforms. But for the SpaceXs of the world, that's not necessarily the case.